geschult in der Kunst der Verkleidung und Täuschung. Ja, ähnlich wie Spione. Vielleicht ist ja ein Spion unter Ihnen. Sie haben sicher alle mein Buch gelesen.
Oh, yes, mein Führer. And my children have read it too.
Take care of your room, take care of your things, like, have some respect.
Wenn Sie mich ansprechen, sagen Sie mein Führer. Verstanden? Haben Sie keinen Respekt vor Autorität? Ihre Worte gewähren Einblick in einen höchst verräterischen Geist.
So antidepressants work on lobsters.
Sind Sie denn ein Idiot? Sind Sie ein verkleideter Schurke, ein Jude? Ein verräterischer Jude?
No. You don't get it. We diverged from lobsters from an evolutionary perspective 350 million years ago, and it's the same circuit.
Dudzilla, thanks for joining me. That Peterson fountain flows and flows, motherfucker. Try to stop that stream, you're gonna slip and fall on your stupid face, my dude. The red pills are dropping and dropping. You just have to put your ear to the ground and you're gonna hear that click-clock of the Peterson red pills hitting the floor. It's like that one time your grandmother was selling her Vicodins to the local dirty hipsters in the neighborhood. My homies, my ninjas. It's amazing. Everywhere you look, you'll see those autistic Peterson followers with a smile on their face. They just took a golden shower underneath the Peterson cloud. Their whole face looks like it's been sprayed with Canadian maple syrup, like the whole fucking bottle splashed onto their face. It's amazing what's going on, dude. No wonder that motherfucker is making out on Patreon. He's the fucking Patreon Jesus. Fucking Canadian Jesus Peterson. Praise the Lord. We don't need the Holy Spirit. We don't need God the Father when we got fucking Jesus Peterson in the house. I see you there, man. I see you. I see you up there at the top of the lobster hierarchy. You have mastered the lobster alpha posture. You got that serotonin, or should I say alpha-tonin, cruising through your veins. You've listened to Peterson, you've listened carefully, and now you got a little stank on your finger, my dude. You got laid. You found the right lady, and this broad is gonna be a good mother to your children, because you listened to Peterson. Motherfucker, you took that self-authoring suite for $30. It's $120 value, dude. It's an online test from Peterson. It could be $1,000. We would still take that shit, because we need that wisdom, we need that insight. Look at us now, motherfucker. You know, fucking start at the bottom, now I'm fucking here. No lobsters to cuck me, and I don't want even to cuck any lobsters. I'm beyond that. I have gone to the next level. Where do we go now? We have cleaned our rooms. What is there left to do? Motherfucker, we're gonna go back in time, give Hitler some advice. Motherfucker, think about it on the next three-dimensional level. We've cleaned our room, now it's fucking time to clean the Reichstag. I heard there was a fire.
So here's what you should have done if you were a Nazi and you wanted to win the war. You should have enslaved the Jews and the Gypsies and had them work.
Here's a word of advice, my dude. Whenever Dr. Peterson drops his wisdom, you better take some notes. Don't be a clown on a unicycle and cycle over here, get yourself a nice chalkboard and fucking draw down some notes. Now, I'm not stingy with my notes. I'm gonna share them with you. You see, these are 3 Peterson's rules, 3 rules for Hitler, an antidote to losing and being a cuck, a 20th century cuck. So here's how you do it, my man. Peterson outlined it all in great detail. So number 1, you have to enslave the Jews. You see, this is rule number 1 of the 3 rules. Now we have rule number 2, enslave the gypsies. All right, can't forget about enslaving the gypsies. And then motherfucker, how about a little delayed gratification here? Number 3, kill them after the war, my dude. Get to it after the war. It just wastes resources right now. And in fact, you killing them right now, your very lack of gratification reveal something about yourself, my dude. Maybe you don't want to win that war at all. The Peterson is in your mind, mein Führer. The Peterson is there, dude. In your fucking skull, dude. And anyway, let's fucking watch this video already, and I'll offer my constructive criticism.
So here's what you should have done if you were a Nazi and you wanted to win the war. You should have enslaved the Jews and the Gypsies and had them work, right? You should have had them work for the benefit of the victory, and then if you wanted to, you liquidate them afterwards. That's the logical thing to do if you want to win. And we assume that Hitler wanted to win. But that's not a very intelligent assumption. Why would you assume that?
Here's why I would assume this. There are a couple of reasons. Reason number one is that there are thousands of scholars who have written thousands of books, who have dedicated their whole fucking lives, Peterson, you fucknut. They have dedicated their whole lives to studying the Third Reich, Nazis, the Soviet Union, World War II, from all fucking possible directions. You know, it's like if World War II was a woman, then the whole scene around it would be a bukkake scene, and every participant in this bukkake would fucking be 100% convinced that Hitler wanted to win the war, you stupid piece of shit. Everybody works under the assumption, because there is no contrary evidence. The only fucking contrary evidence comes from a Canadian gender pronoun warrior waving their hands, fucking gypsies and Jews. You had to like preserve gypsies and Jews, and then fucking that would help you defeat the Soviet Union. Alright, motherfucker, listen, let's dive back into this shit.
He wasn't exactly a good guy. So why should we assume that he was aiming at the good that he was promoting, even in his own terms, right? The glorious, everlasting Third Reich, right? That'll rule for 1,000 years and be a bastion of civilization and music, because that's the sort of thing he purported to be interested in. Well, so what do you do with the Jews and the Gypsies? Well, round them up, fine. Enslave them, fine. You don't kill them. You certainly don't devote a substantial proportion of your war resources while you're losing to accelerate the rate at which the extermination is taking place. Because that's a bit counterproductive, unless what you're aiming at is the maximum possible mayhem in the shortest period of time.
You see, the Dark Professor figured the whole thing out. All these academics, all these scholars, all people convinced that Hitler wanted to win the war, they're all wrong. They haven't connected with fucking Adolf Hitler's dark Jungian self or his taint self. I mean, Jordan Peterson really went deep into this dark, nasty Hitler's taint, and he has figured out that in reality, you know, Hitler was like a drama queen. He just liked the chaos and the mayhem. And actually, maybe he subconsciously wanted to win the war. Like, Peterson figured it all out. Please, write fucking letters to the most prominent historians of the period you can find, because they're working under the false assumption. Tell them these great insights, these great red pills about Hitler's dark self, about his taint self, where Peterson has stuck his stupid face and has figured it all out. Fucking Peterson is the Neo, the Neo of Adolf Hitler's mind, and he has figured it out. But listen, since we're analyzing Hitler, psychoanalyzing, let me put my 2 cents into this. Now, the thing you have to understand about Hitler is that he was an odd duck. He kind of marched to the beat of his own drums, right? He wasn't like the rest, man. Adolf really wasn't like the rest. He was sort of like, he was kind of a personality. He was a real kind of an eccentric, a real sort of a independent thinker, you know, kind of like a well-adjusted individual, like Stefan Molyneux.
I don't really believe in a vagina. So what makes Hitler so eccentric and different, you ask me? Let me give you an example, right? So here's the idea. We're going to invade the Soviet Union. Now, a normal person would say, hey, you know, the Soviet Union, maybe their military is incompetent. Maybe it's going to fold, but let's prepare for the winter. Let's prepare for the winter. Let's get some winter supplies ready. I know it's summer right now, but what if it drags out for a couple of months? I mean, we are invading like a huge country with a huge population and with a huge military. So maybe we can sort of prepare for the winter a little bit. Well, the preparations on behalf of the Germans were scarce, and that had a lot to do with Hitler. Now, how did Hitler look at the Soviet Union? How did Hitler look at Russia? Well, here we get to seemingly irrelevant point that the Russian royalty through generations of intermarriage have become basically German. If you were to test their DNA and their heritage, the Romanovs toward the end of their dynasty would have registered as Germans. So this fact did not escape Hitler, and this is how Hitler looked at Russians. He believed that Russians were a stupid herd of subhumans ruled by the Aryan dynasty of the Romanovs. Russians couldn't organize themselves, they were just like cattle. And they were ruled by these Aryans. And then the fucking Jews took over, right? The Jews overthrew the Aryans, and now they have, kind of like parasites attached themselves to the stupid Slavic herd of Russians. This is literally what Hitler believed. And so now he believed that the Russians are not going to fight for the Jews. They thought that the whole thing is just, the whole thing is just, is going to fold very quickly. You give it a little blitzkrieg and it's just going to fall like a house of cards. Yes, there's going to be some blood and carnage, but overall, it's just Jews on top of this dumb herd. And if you look at things this way, then you really don't need to prepare for the winter, motherfucker. You really don't want to prepare for the winter. And now we shift our view to America, right? How did they look at America? Well, so America, President Roosevelt, has been routinely described in Nazi press as President Rosenfeld or something, Rosenstein, I forget, something like that. So why? Because they were convinced that he was a crypto Jew. Now, this might sound goofy to you. But they believe that both the Soviet Union and America was ruled by Jews, and also Great Britain. The Jews. So, for example, when America finally declared war on Germany, after being attacked by Germany's ally, the Empire of Japan, Hitler said, well, the Jews have finally done it. He literally blamed it on the Jews, not on the fact that his own ally just attacked America. So this is kind of odd duck behavior. It's behavior that's a little bit diluted, and it's frankly really fuck not diluted. It's way out there. And the reason I'm bringing this up is if you really look at the world, that in fact, in a sense, when you're fighting Russia or the Soviet Union, it's just an avatar for Jewish power. And to some extent, all of the powers you're fighting, like America and Britain, are also avatar for Jewish powers. Then destroying the Jews then becomes kind of the Jews are your ultimate enemy in this whole thing. Like you're fighting the Soviet Union, but really you're fighting the Jews. And in this context, just enslaving them until after the war, and in fact losing the war, just adds more fuel to the fire of exterminating your ultimate enemy. Hitler was deluded. Now, being deluded, from that vantage point, being so deeply deluded is different from wanting to lose. They have nothing fucking in common. They really have fucking nothing in common. If you're a schizophrenic who believes that you have to steal some money from the bank and to fight the CIA, for example, now you're deluded, but that doesn't mean, and you might go about robbing that bank in a stupid way, but that doesn't mean you don't want to rob the bank. And in fact, Jordan Peterson is just a goofball, because you know what else is irrational about the Nazi government and their offensive? Everything is fucking irrational. They more or less declared war on all of Europe and much of the world. Now, building a 1,000-year insane Reich, it's an insane idea to begin with. right, before you open up the gas chambers. It's already an insane idea. Invading the Soviet Union at that time was an insane idea. It was even an insane idea to most of German generals, or many of them. They all thought this was nutty. Some of them wanted to regroup and attack later and stuff like that, but at that specific point, you know, it was just a nutty idea. Everything was fucking nutty. It wasn't just exterminating the Jews. But again, this has nothing whatsoever to do with Hitler not wanting to win, or Hitler having some unconscious death wish. Had nothing to do with that shit.
Well, so what happened as the Germans started to lose the war? Did Hitler lose faith in his own ability? No, he believed that the Germans had betrayed him with weakness. And so he was perfectly willing to accelerate the rate at which Germany was losing the war. And so when Hitler and his minions had the choice, here's the choice. You can suspend your unnecessary demolition of people, win the damn war, and then pick it up afterwards. Or while you're losing, you can just accelerate the mayhem, even though it's counterproductive. It's like, what'd they pick? Well, they picked to accelerate the mayhem. And so to me, there's an old psychoanalytic idea. I think this was derived by Jung. If you can't figure out what someone is doing or why, look at the outcome and infer the motivation. If it produces mayhem, perhaps it was aiming at mayhem. Now, you know, you have to use that dictum carefully. If someone's irritating you, you know, maybe it's because you're irritable and you should sort yourself out, but maybe it's because they're actually aiming at irritating you. And that's the actual motivation. So perhaps not, but it's another tool in your analytical armament.
Yeah, another tool in your analytical armament. Let's say I have painted my balls pink and blue because these are the favorite colors of, I don't know, Jessica Alba. And now I'm running around naked around her house, you know, professing my love for her and throwing around like gerbils and the hamsters that I bought in the store for her as gifts, and now I'm just like tossing them onto their property.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Now this behavior might be irrational, but there's no, unless you can directly prove that my whole idea is to create mayhem and chaos, you know, for all intents and purposes, chances are I'm just insane, but I do want to meet with Jessica Alba. Like, I went through all this effort, buying the gerbils and the hamsters, painting my balls, you know, I want it to happen. I'm just going about it in a goofy way. And this whole psychoanalysis bullshit is just that. It's fucking bullshit. It's like there is a meta alpha hierarchy, and by applying this bullshit depth psychology for which there is no evidence in the real world, no evidence that there is this deep unconscious mind you have with these secret desires, almost like a secret parasite within you, no evidence for that whatsoever. It just allows the psychoanalyst to exercise power like Peterson does here. Like, basically, without doing any research about the war, without knowing anything about what the fuck he's talking about, he can just pull the shit out of his ass, analyze Adolf Hitler and the Nazis, and suddenly become the ultimate expert on what happened during the World War II, because he applied these fictional narratives and applied fictional motives where they don't exist. But there are other specific things about this that are profoundly retarded. Number one is this idea that exterminating people is very labor intensive. It's not labor intensive. Exterminating people, the actual act of killing them. It's not labor intensive. What is labor intensive is enslaving them, is rounding them up, putting them on cattle cars, bringing them somewhere. That's more labor intensive. You know, running the camps is labor intensive. Exterminating them is not labor, is not labor intensive. And this idiot Peterson already conceded, and again, I'm not saying that he approves of this in any way whatsoever, but he already conceded that enslaving people is a rational thing to do within the context of the Nazi mindset. But it's the act of enslavement that is the most labor intensive. Putting people and murdering people in gas chambers is no longer fucking labor intensive. Killing grandmothers in gas chambers It's disgusting and it's horrible. It's just not labor intensive. And the other thing, I'm sure that the Nazis directed a lot of resources toward the Holocaust, but the thing is that they would have these prisons anyway, a lot of these concentration camps, even if they weren't lethal. And they would have much of this machinery anyway. And the fact is that, contrary to Peterson, they did use Jews and others for slave labor before exterminating them. So they were using them for slave labor. So it's highly fucking doubtful for me. Peterson makes it sound like the simple thing, oh, just don't exterminate the Jews and the Gypsies and you can win the war. After Stalingrad, after the Germans started to retreat from the Soviet Union, the war was already lost for them. Their only potential quote-unquote victory, or something resembling a victory in the circumstances, would be to make a separate deal with the United States so that the Soviet Union wouldn't invade Germany. So surrender to America, something like that. But the war was already lost, and who you exterminate or not, it has obvious horrible moral repercussions. It's a horrible crime, but it has nothing to do with fucking winning or losing the war. I doubt in the context of millions of people being moved about, millions of soldiers and others, that fucking shutting down concentration camps would have really made that huge of a difference in the whole thing. Peterson is just stupid. He's just stupid on this. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I mean, listen, I'm no military historian, but it just doesn't make sense shutting down, like, the Nazis starved 3 million Soviet prisoners of war. Did that cost them anything? Would they have won the war if they didn't starve them? It doesn't fucking matter. Compared to the resources on the Eastern Front, like shutting down Auschwitz or not exterminating people there, wouldn't have made any fucking difference. Peterson is stupid.
And all the cover story about, well, we're trying to build the Third Reich and we're trying to stabilize the state and we're trying to do all these good things. Maybe that's just a cover story for the real motivation, which is nothing but what? The construction of death camps that killed 6 million people. How about that? And the obliteration of 120 million people on the planet, and the leaving of Europe in ruins. Maybe that was the motivation. Or are we going to attribute to Hitler the highest possible motives? Say, no, it's an archetypal manifestation of Cain. Now, he's going to put up a front that says, well, I'm your savior. It's like, well, destructive people think that Cain is their savior.
So now with archetypal Cain, we get into another layer of stupidity. Peterson is like, oh, you know, Hitler had this nice facade of the Third Reich, but beyond this facade lurked this unconscious evil. Bullshit, motherfucker. Even the facade of the Third Reich was pretty hideous if you cared about human life. I mean, it's literally, motherfucker, Peterson, you're an idiot. Already in Mein Kampf he said that Germans needed living space in Eastern Europe. Already in Mein Kampf he said we're gonna hang a Jew on every lamppost. There was no sort of this nice facade, you know, with basically like by unraveling what's behind the facade, Peterson has revealed his psychoanalytic mastery. You're fucking stupid, dude, when it comes to this. You're fucking stupid. Even the core idea of the Third Reich, the unhidden idea of the Third Reich is hideous if you care about human life. What happens when you fucking turn Poland into living space for Aryans? You know, what happens to Russia when you turn it into living space for Aryans? What happens to Ukraine? Those people were meant to be mass murdered and deported. So maybe they haven't advertised all these ideas in full to the German public at all the time, but there's no hideous, you know, hidden evil motivations. The evil motivations are already on the fucking surface to anybody who looked at that shit. Like, there was, you know, Peterson is just like this archaeologist of the unconscious who revealed this shit. No, motherfucker, it's not unconscious. It's very much conscious. You haven't revealed fucking shit. You haven't revealed shit. But that being said, you know, there is a distinction to this video, to this Jordan Peterson video. And, you know, and I've looked at it, unfortunately, at this point, purely for the sake of mocking these videos on my channel and pulling their content. I have looked at a lot of Peterson videos, but this one has one big distinction. Take a guess what it is. Yes, it's right. It has one of the largest portion of downvotes of any Peterson video. And you know why? Because it criticizes Hitler. This is the gutter that we inhabit here on YouTube. Like, Jordan Peterson can draw parallels between lobsters and humans, and how lobsters process serotonin relative to their fucking postures, and humans, even though lobsters are fucking insects of the sea, and you can cut off their fucking head and they can still remain alive because they don't have a brain, they have a nervous system without a brain, and so cutting off the head is not totally lethal. I mean, it's lethal in the long term, they can't eat and shit, but you get what I'm saying. Like, even though we have serotonin and they have serotonin, you have to be fucking careful drawing any parallels or any self-help examples from that. It's fucking stupid. Peterson does this. Peterson fucking implies that without the archetypal baby Jesus, you know, we can't be moral, even though there is no evidence that atheists commit more crime than non-atheists, or that countries with high prevalence of voluntary atheism, I'm not talking about North Korea, but in democratic atheist majority countries, no evidence that there's any crime spree there. In fact, Christian countries tend to be more violent than those countries. So again, it doesn't fucking matter to them. They're not gonna downvote that. They're not gonna downvote the fucking lobsters. What these assholes are gonna downvote is Hitler going after Hitler. Hitler going after Hitler. They're gonna vote Peterson going after Hitler. This is what they're gonna downvote. So, my dudes, my homies, my ninjas, I guess we all have to make compromises in life. So I pledge to you that, you know, listen, I criticize Peterson, I get a lot of downvotes. I criticize Hitler, I guess maybe it's like Hitler or Peterson. I have to take my chances here, you know, for the downvotes. How many downvotes can I handle? You know, who should I drop? Peterson or Hitler? I'm not gonna drop anyone, dude. I'm ready. I'm fucking independent. I'm ready to fucking duke it out. Oh, fuck it. Hey, man. Hey. Why don't you leave me a comment telling me what you think about Hitler, right? And then like my video and subscribe. This is the shit I'm supposed to say to get, you know, increase the analytics. But fuck it. Unsubscribe, motherfucker. Downvote this shit. Don't tell me anything about Hitler. Nothing you have to say about Hitler matters, my dude. Fuck it. Thanks for watching.